Hi, welcome back. We're here and we're actually going to talk about our topic at hand today in our podcast series, which is now 9 episodes since we added an additional one because the eclipse was a special flower. So our series is Catalyze Your Soul's Deepest Embodiment in the Context of Relationships. How does this keep fucking growing in both of our lives? I think that I've catalyzed my soul's deepest embodiment in the context of relationships over the course of this series.
I had the same thought. I was like, damn, I never imagined that this series or the retreat would expand me this much. And I was like, it's already working. It's already happening.
Dude, the thing is, Katie, is that it happened before we started recording it and now it's happening again.
Right.
I think that's really important for people to understand is this is an ongoing unfolding, right? I mean, obviously, we're humans, we're here to be in relationship with one another, but it's really wild how much bigger your love can just continue to grow and deepen in ways that blow you away. And Katie and I were just talking before we started recording in a way that we're like, is this real? I think this person who really thinks I'm great might be delusional.
Yep.
And it's just witnessing yourself and the enormity of your soul in exchange with other humans that amplify you. And you're like, that's really friendly of you. That's really nice of you to see me in that way. I don't understand that on a conscious level. And I think this is one of the things we wanted to talk about today. So today's theme, by the way, is masculine and feminine energy harmonization, which we're basically going to blow up into a million pieces. And then Katie's going to guide us through a soul attunement. So stay tuned for that because each of these episodes now has healing experiences for you, which are yummy and fabulous. But yeah, I mean, it's just this concept of there is no, I mean, masculine and feminine, there is none, right?
Labels.
They're labels. It's a definition that was created by humans because ultimately it's just returning to our soul, right? And when we can do that and we receive the enormity of our soul and we're like, whoa, how do I integrate this? I don't know how to receive this. I think that depending on the intensity of the energy and the way that it arrives depends on how you're going to integrate it. So sometimes I'm going to integrate that in a more quote unquote defined masculine way. Okay, I'm going to specifically and precisely funnel this into X and create a structured something from it, right? Or I'm going to receive this in a more quote unquote feminine defined way, which is I'm going to lean back, I'm going to absorb, I'm going to settle, I'm going to soften, I'm going to just receive and open, right? But it kind of pisses me off to even talk about it that way because the fact is both masculine and feminine energies incorporate both. Right? They both, yeah, feminine is very driven and precise and alchemical and transformative and bold. And so is masculine. And masculine is also very soft and tender and malleable, right? And so we can say, all right, well, we're talking about the divine feminine and the divine masculine, but there is no divine feminine and divine masculine. There is only oneness.
Right.
There is only oneness. And all energies that we're experiencing, we talk about excitement and fear, fear is excitement without the breath, right? They're all existing on the same spectrum. So it's okay, I feel afraid. Okay, well, let's slide that down the spectrum a little bit. What is actually feeling activated within you that's mobilizing you forward, that's exciting you? Same thing on this spectrum. It's okay, I'm going to have days, weeks where I just don't want to do shit in terms of mobilizing something. Does that mean that my masculine and feminine energy is out of balance and I need to move back? Well, that indicates that I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I should just meet myself in that moment and recognize okay, this is where I am right now. There's a reason that motivation is not the top on my list, right? You and I were just talking about, let's get curious about the cosmic energies, about my soul, and where oneness is kind of calling me to serve and integrate. Because at the end of the day, I am of service. I am a vessel of service, and I am tapped into the collective energies. And so is it something that's deficient within me? No. And the fact is, masculine and feminine energy, if you're looking at it as a dichotomy like that, is available in everybody's field at all times. So it's like, if I can't execute something, I have somebody or a resource within my field that I can access to execute. And if somebody's having trouble softening, they have resources that they can access and execute to be able to access that. So it's like, again, oneness in exchange with one another to actualize the highest expression of what our soul is calling us to when we're present in the moment with what's coming forward. Whew.
Yeah. I mean, tie that up in a bow, because that I have nothing more to add besides yes, right? Like,
I'm like, what did I just say? I'm not sure, but it made a lot of sense.
yeah,
I got a little riled up with that one.
it all came forward. Yeah.
Well, because it pisses me off. Because I think one of the reasons is because of like, I think this is because of the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine, right? That shows up in the 3D. And we're so fucking used to seeing things in the 3D. And that's shifting so much, especially with this eclipse that we're still in the tail end of, right? It's like there's so much distraction by focusing on the 3D presentation of things. And it's like, okay, if I am in a relationship with you and you're in the wounded feminine, then I have a wounded part in me as well that's being reflected, right? Like divine meets divine, you know, and we all have divinity within us. And so it's like, can we meet the divinity within each other instead of looking at your wounded feminine or your wounded masculine? I was just telling you, it's like being able to, when you get these reflections back at you from other people, whether they're activating you in a way that is uncomfortable, in a way that feels amazing, either way, they're uncomfortable, to be honest with you. And so it's like, okay, I can find something wrong with that person's reflection because I'm having trouble receiving what it is they're reflecting. And I can say, well, you just have rose-colored glasses, or you're just in a cranky mood, or you're this or that. But actually, my soul called this in, like source brought this into me to be with, you know? Yeah, see, source agrees, Apple agrees. That's the thumbs up for those of you who are on the podcast, just but the bubble showed up on my screen. But yeah, I mean, I think we get very distracted by the wounded feminine and wounded masculine and think it's something that we need to fix and that we need to align with the divine masculine, divine feminine. And when really it's okay to be with wherever you are and just allow your soul to come into where you are and start to like play with you in that sandbox and inform you and plant some seeds, you know?
Yeah, because ultimately you're not broken, right? I feel like by putting the label of like the wounded feminine or wounded masculine, like you're broken. And then to put the divine feminine, the divine masculine on the other side of it is to make you feel like you're perfect. And like, it's no, right? Like,
well, I think that bypasses the human, because the fact is we signed up for duality, and polarity is the nature of this planet. Like, you are going to oscillate every fucking day, and you're going to find more stillness when you stop trying to find an intentional balance and just meet yourself in the moment, right? It comes into presence. And the other thing that we're feeling with these new earth energies that are coming in with the eclipse, and honestly started coming in August 2023, really amplified in December 2023, and are now getting even stronger, particularly through the end of 2024, is the fact that everything's androgynous. And we talked about this in a previous episode very briefly, but it's really being able to recognize that the energy that's coming in, particularly when we're talking about this in the context of relationships in this podcast, which is like, you know, you're not going to have conscious understanding of a lot of these human connections that are either present in your life now, growing now, or coming into your life now or in the future, because it's a soul level connection that might frustrate the fuck out of your human, or that might not make any sense to your human. It could blow you away, or it could, make you crazy. But there is a soul level connection there that has nothing to do with trauma bonding, which is what we used to deal with like twin flame narratives and shit like that around like, oh, well, you're just fixated on this because of trauma bonding. No, it's not like that anymore, because we're no longer viewing ourselves as deficient. We're meeting ourselves in the moment and being able to say like, okay, this energy, this new earth energy that's coming in is very androgynous and is one that completely surpasses human understanding.
Right. And the moment we try to make sense of it, we try to understand it, we get two in the mind, we get two in the human, two in the 3D, and that's not where we're being called, right? Like
Right.
that's not the relationship's purpose or your purpose, right? It's you
Mm.
got to zoom out.
Thank you. That's the point right there. You just brought it full circle, Katie, because that's what it's about, is bringing you back to yourself, to your mission, to your soul's purpose, to your growth. And feel free to have a massive tantrum about that, because we all need to. And sometimes it's like, oh, I'm so sick of expanding and like learning the lessons and stepping more into my mission. And it feels lonely and da 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 da. Fine. Feel that way. Tantrum it out, because you know very, very well that once you get to that next level, you're going to attract even more magic and
Yeah.
be like, holy shit, I didn't realize it could get this good. Is this real? Like, yeah.
You just got chills up and down my spine because it's that point right there where I feel like at one point I was like, well, this is as good as it gets, right? And then like literally a couple weeks later, it was like, no, no, it blew my socks off and continues to, right?
Yeah.
Like it's fascinating.
Every day of my life. And that's why it's so important what you said, which is like, these people and this series is about bringing you into greater awareness of your soul's essence and the enormity of it. And if you're feeling intensity around it, that is a direct reflection of the enormity of your soul's mission. And you're having trouble accepting it. And that's not a problem. That's human. Just give yourself more space right now. Like that's what we're being called into, is more space to, like, when you receive those reflections, let it sink in. Like let yourself feel it, receive it, hold it. And it might take a while and it might not, but don't get so distracted by the relationships and what they're activating that you neglect to see yourself and what you're being invited into.
Right.
So if you guys have any questions about masculine and feminine stuff, please feel free to message us. All our information is in the show notes, or to, you can comment on YouTube as well if you want, if there's more specific questions you have around that. Because I've done masculine and feminine work, and I have to admit that, like, for instance, it is helpful for me to know my human design. And my human design, 75% of my arrows go to the right. 75% of my energy is feminine. And it is helpful for me to know that, and I do refer back to that, because, but what does that help? That helps my ego.
Right.
That helps my ego when I get into my head around, you're slacking again, Laura, right? Or whatever, when it comes to quote unquote masculine tasks. And it's like, well, but that's not how I'm meant to lead. And that's not how I'm meant to operate. And so it's just a reminder to my ego to kind of keep coming back. So in that way, I'm not saying that it's not helpful in any way. And there's a reason that these tools and labels were created for us. But I just don't want you to lock yourself into it or get stuck in it, or feel you're deficient in some way, or feel like there's something to fix. I think it can be an anchor point, as long as it's an anchor point to move closer to that oneness and that attunement with your soul.
Right. I, yeah, when we put the labels on it, like I think it was helpful for me, especially early on in my journey too,
Yeah.
where I was like, oh, it actually kind of helped me remove, by having the labels or seeing where I kind of was, whether it was like human design or just the wounded parts of this, it was like, oh, it kind of helped remove my human from it. I was like, oh, that's just what's happening here. Right. And I had a client the other day from the Rise Sister Rise book by Rebecca Campbell.
Mm.
She has a chart in there about like the divine feminine, the wounded feminine, divine masculine, wounded masculine. I don't know why that was so hard for me
I
to say.
love that chart. I love that chart.
And so I had shared it in my group program that I was doing. And one of the clients was like, oh my God, I can see exactly how in her relationship with somebody, how it moved. Like we were drawing kind of this path of like, the emotions out of each of these in this grid. And she was like, holy shit. Like it totally opened her up to see it in a different way. And I think that's the part that I really like about the labels, right?
Yeah.
Because she was like, oh, we have actually rose. We actually have alchemized. We actually have grown and evolved and changed. Both of us, right? Like it helped her see it's zooming out though, right? We did that experience and then it was like, all right, zoom out. And she was like, holy shit, like that reflection is so important.
I love the zoom out.
Yeah.
I love the zoom. And that's what I like about it's just another tool that brings us back to our divinity.
Right. That
Mm,
completes it. That's exactly what I said to her. I'm like, this is just your soul here to say, like, this is the relationship that I brought to you, and this is how it's catalyzing for you to return home. How do you return to that oneness?
yes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That gives me all the feels. All right, dudes, let's go into a soul attunement because we can talk about this stuff. I mean, Katie and I can literally talk for hours, but the reason that we introduced experiences in the second half of this series, and if you haven't caught the previous few episodes, please do that because we have other experiences there too, and we'll have one in our final episode next week. But it's so important to not just process this with the mind, right? Like we want you to feel into it and we want this to start to move energetically within you because those are the building blocks that create lasting change, right? Okay, so I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to hand you the floor and you can bring people into their soul and tell people what you're doing.
Sounds good. So if you're listening to this, where you're not able to fully close your eyes and relax into the space, uh, that's okay. Just take it in and maybe create the space for yourself later on. But if you are able to, go ahead and close your eyes and take this nice, deep cleansing breath, really feeling your human body here. Slow exhale. And it's here where we're going to pull in Earth's energy all the way from our feet, pulling it all the way into our legs and into our bellies, into our hearts, allowing us to be grounded and calm, safe and nurtured and cared for. And to receive this soul attunement, we're going to call in the divine to come down through our crown into our headspace, into our shoulders, anchoring into our heart. Feeling the healing and wisdom in this space. Feeling how both energies mix and mold together in here. Inviting yourself to open up your consciousness here, that there's nothing more to process. There are no more human 3D words. That you're here to feel, you're here to experience. This attunement isn't about fixing. This is an attunement about feeling. Seeing yourself as one, as whole, with space to receive, with space to do, with space to be. I invite you here to focus on your heart or focus on your soul, whatever feels best to bring in here. As we open up this healing portal. as the individual particles of our being, of our emotions, of our relationships, all start to trickle into this space. You see this light, and as it receives this healing, as it exists here today, this light expands and illuminates its natural radiance. And this light expands beyond your human, beyond your physical body. Allow it to expand, expand, expand. Take a nice deep breath in. Slow exhale, feeling it go all the way down your crown, through the meridian of your body, landing, anchoring down into your root. Go ahead and take another deep breath in, allowing yourself to fully receive this attunement and let it trickle into your body, all the cells and organs within your human. Anchor that into your heart space here. And take a final deep breath in, allowing that natural radiance and expanded light to come into your body. And this time it's going to anchor into your crown. Remembering that all parts of us make us whole, that we can lean into the masculine or feminine, or root or divine. It all comes back to our heart, all comes back to our soul. All comes back to oneness. You can place your hands on your heart and just thank yourself for receiving this, for being open to this attunement as you recalibrate the energies that we're feeling in this 3D. Allowing yourself to ascend higher and higher, aligned, expanded. When you're ready, slowly blink open your eyes, come back into the space. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, welcome back.
You kind of fucked me up a little bit.
Uh-oh.
in the best way.
I love doing that to you.
Oh, that was really enjoyable. Thank God you fucking grounded my ass into my root and my organs, because I was not here.
Not here. Yeah.
I was not here. And like, I needed that. And I'm also irritated at the same time. Like, damn, I needed that. And oh, it's like just such a confirmation of the expansion that's happening that my body is like trying to resist to a degree, right?
My
Oh,
body's definitely resisting. Like I have old lower back pain coming up that it's rough. And I'm like, okay, this is just expansion, just expansion.
mm,
And I feel like I could have done that. Like that could have easily been like a 30, 45 minute easily.
yeah. After you had like extended the light further, I was like, and then you started to bring it back. I'm like, oh, she's doing such a good job doing this in a timely manner for the purposes of the episode. But I know that there's so much more here.
It was so hard because it's like, oh my God, I just want to sit in this and I just want to let it keep expanding, expanding,
Me
expanding.
too. I would have been gone for like an hour. That was wild. So thank you very much. And if you want a longer experience, come to our retreat.
Yeah, that will be a longer experience. Bye.
Oh, big time. Oh,
Oh,
wow. Yeah. What we're giving you tastes of here are going to be like deepened exponentially on our retreat. So you can check out those notes in the show notes, or those links in the show notes. But, yeah, my brain isn't fully online right now. However, I know enough since I have my notes next to me to let you know that we will be back for another episode next week. And we're going to be doing a sovereignty activation. I'll be guiding that after we talk about like emotional responsibility and self-loyalty and boundaries and all the lovely things.
sounds good.
So, it's been real, folks. And thank you for being here with us every week. We love you. Please share this with people that you think it would serve and speak to their hearts and could use some extra love and oneness and community and connection. And you can reach out to us individually too and share this to your story and tag me at Emerge Healing and Wellness and Katie at the Katie E. White. And we're grateful. We'll see you next week. Bye.